There is a jar on the shelf of every gas station in Japan. It costs less than $2, and in Japan, truck engines routinely turn 500,000 miles on it. I'm going to show you exactly what it is, what it does, and why your truck probably will not see 200,000 miles unless you start using it. I am Wade Tucker. I have been turning wrenches on pickup trucks for 40 years. I rebuilt my first engine in 1986. I have pulled engines out of trucks with over 400,000 miles and found cylinder walls with crosshatch patterns still intact. And I'm going to show you the single cheapest thing you can do for your engine right now. If this information is useful to you, go ahead and hit subscribe. And leave me a comment at the end. I read every one. Let me tell you about trucks I have personally seen. There was a 1997 Toyota Tundra in northern Georgia. The owner was a carpenter named Takeshi Morimoto. That truck crossed 487,000 miles. No engine work. Nothing but oil changes and Marvel Mystery Oil added to each crankcase. There was a 2004 Toyota Tundra in Loudoun County, Tennessee, owned by a man named Johnny Rolls. He drove that truck to 510,000 miles before the frame gave out. He moved the engine to a new frame and kept going. I have a 2011 Chevrolet Silverado 1500 in my nephew's driveway right now. It just crossed 340,000 miles. Every 3,000 miles, he adds Marvel Mystery Oil to the crankcase. That is the product. That is what we are talking about today. Now let me explain what this stuff actually is. Marvel Mystery Oil is a petroleum-based oil additive that has been around since the 1920s. It was originally formulated for two-stroke marine engines. The company that makes it is not a big marketing operation. They make a product that works and they sell it cheap. That is becoming rare in this country. The chemical composition is relatively simple. It is a blend of light petroleum oils, organic compounds, and what are called IPC solvents. Those stand for internal combustion solvents. In plain language, these are compounds that soften and break down carbon deposits. Carbon deposits are the enemy of longevity in any gasoline or diesel engine. When carbon builds up on piston rings, the rings stick. When rings stick, you lose compression. When you lose compression, you lose power and burn oil. That is how an engine dies. Not from age, from carbon. Here is what happens inside your engine right now. Every time you drive short distances, especially in cold weather, your engine never fully heats up. Water condensation builds in the crankcase. Fuel dilution thins the oil. Acid forms. The oil breaks down faster than it should. Carbon deposits begin to accumulate on the rings, on the valve stems, on the underside of the pistons. By 80,000 miles, most American truck engines have a measurable layer of carbon on those surfaces. By 150,000 miles, many of them are already burning oil. Dealers call it normal. It is not normal. It is a failure to maintain, and it is mostly preventable. What Marvel Mystery Oil does is sit in your oil and dissolve that carbon. The IPC solvents penetrate the deposits and soften them. The petroleum carrier brings them into suspension so they can drain out with the oil at your next change. Over time, this keeps your rings free. Free rings mean good compression. Good compression means the engine runs the way it was designed to run. That is the whole secret. There is no magic here. It is just cleaning. The Japanese understood this decades ago. Their truck fleets run on regular oil and a dose of petroleum solvent at every service interval. They are not running exotic synthetics. They are running conventional oil with a $2 additive, and they are getting 400,000, 500,000 miles out of engines that American owners throw away at 150,000. Let me get specific about how this works chemically. When you add Marvel Mystery Oil to your crankcase, the specific gravity of the blend shifts slightly. The additive is lighter than conventional motor oil. That means it finds its way into small gaps and crevices inside the engine where regular oil might not reach. It coats the cylinder walls during the compression stroke when the piston moves down. It coats the valve stems. It gets into the ring gaps. That coating action is what protects metal surfaces during cold starts when oil has not yet circulated. Every mechanic who has torn down an engine after long-term use of Marvel Mystery Oil will tell you the same thing. The interior surfaces are cleaner. The rings are free. The bore has less carbon scoring. I have seen it with my own hands on engines at 300,000 miles and beyond. Here is what Japanese fleet mechanics do that most American truck owners never do. They add Marvel Mystery Oil to the crankcase before every oil change. Not after, before. They put 4 ounces into the old oil, then drive the truck for 500 miles. This allows the solvent to work on accumulated carbon before the old oil is drained. When they drain the oil, the dissolved carbon goes with it. Then they refill with fresh conventional oil and add another 4 ounces of Marvel Mystery Oil to the fresh fill. Some fleet operators in Japan go further. They add a small amount directly into the cylinders through the spark plug holes, 1 or 2 ounces per cylinder. They let it sit overnight. Then they crank the engine without starting it for 30 seconds to spread the oil across the cylinder walls and valve stems. Then they change the oil and filter. This sounds extreme. It works. The third method Japanese truck owners use is fuel treatment. They add Marvel Mystery Oil to diesel fuel at a ratio of about 2 ounces per 10 gallons. This keeps the injectors clean. It keeps the combustion chamber free of carbon deposits. It extends the life of the fuel system, and it costs almost nothing. If you own a diesel pickup, this alone is worth more than any expensive additive you are currently buying at the auto parts store. Now let me tell you the mistakes American truck owners make with this product. The first mistake is using too much. The label says 4 to 8 ounces per oil change. Some people dump in the whole bottle because they think if a little works, a lot works better. It does not. Too much solvent will actually thin the oil beyond safe limits. You get adequate film strength for bearing surfaces. That is dangerous. 8 ounces per 5-quart oil change is the maximum. Do not exceed it. The second mistake is using it only once and expecting permanent results. Carbon rebuilds. You need to treat every oil change or every other oil change to keep the rings free. Consistency is the whole game here. The third mistake is thinking you do not need to change your oil on time because you are using an additive. The additive does not replace fresh oil. It works with fresh oil. If you are running oil 7,000 miles because someone told you synthetic lasts that long, you are building carbon faster than the additive can remove it. Change your oil every 3,000 miles on conventional. That is what the Japanese do. That is what I do on every truck I own. The fourth mistake is using cheap oil with this additive and expecting miracles. Conventional oil is fine. It is what I recommend. But it needs to be the right conventional oil for your engine. Check your owner's manual. Use the weight specified. Do not run 5W30 in a truck that calls for 10W40 just because it is cold outside. Weight matters. The additive will not compensate for the wrong viscosity. The fifth mistake is using Marvel Mystery Oil in an engine that already has a mechanical failure. If your truck is ticking, knocking, or overheating, the additive will not fix it. You have a broken part. Find it and fix it before adding any additive. The product is for maintenance. It is not a repair. Do not use it as a substitute for diagnosing an actual problem. The sixth mistake is ignoring diesel trucks. Diesel engines run hotter and have higher compression ratios, which means carbon buildup in the ringlands happens faster than in gasoline engines. Diesel truck owners should be using Marvel Mystery Oil in the crankcase every single oil change, not every other one. The IPC solvents in this product are particularly effective in diesel combustion chambers. If you own a diesel pickup and you are not using this, you are leaving 200,000 miles on the table. Let me get into specific application amounts because I know you want exact numbers. For a standard oil change on any pickup truck with a 5-quart crankcase, add 4 ounces of Marvel Mystery Oil to the fresh oil at fill time. If you are treating an engine with known carbon buildup or oil consumption, add 8 ounces to the fresh oil after the change. Drive the truck 100 to 150 miles. Then change the oil and filter again and add another 4 ounces to the fresh fill. This two-step process is what Japanese mechanics use for engines coming out of high-mileage service or for trucks that have been neglected. For a stuck ring situation where the truck is burning a quart every 1,000 miles or less, pour 1 ounce of Marvel Mystery Oil directly into the cylinder through the spark plug hole. Use a small funnel. Do this on all cylinders with the engine cold. Let it sit for 12 hours. Then crank the engine without starting it for 15 seconds. This rotates the crankshaft and spreads the oil across the cylinder walls. Then change your oil and filter and add 4 ounces per 5 quarts. Drive 200 miles. Change again with 4 ounces per fill. The rings will free up in most cases. Not all, but most. For frequency, here is my recommendation based on 40 years of doing this. If your truck has over 100,000 miles, use Marvel Mystery Oil at every oil change, 4 ounces per 5 quarts. If your truck is between 50,000 and 100,000 miles, use it every other oil change. If your truck is under 50,000 miles and you are doing regular oil changes on time, you can use it twice a year as preventive maintenance. The cost is minimal. A bottle of Marvel Mystery Oil costs between $2 and $4 depending on where you buy it. One bottle gives you 2 treatments at 4 ounces each. That is roughly $1 per treatment. Over 300,000 miles, assuming an oil change every 3,000 miles, that is 100 oil changes. At $4 per bottle, you spend about $200 on Marvel Mystery Oil across the life of the engine. A new short block for a 5.4 Lee Triton or a 5.3 LS costs between $3,000 and $7,000 installed. A rebuilt engine costs $4,000 to $8,000. Using the cheap additive costs $200. Do the math. Here is the comparison that matters most. Marvel Mystery Oil versus the expensive American synthetic additives that you are buying at the auto parts store right now. Let me name names because you deserve to know. Lucas Oil Stabilizer, Seafoam Engine Treatment, Royal Purple. These are the 3 biggest players in the premium additive market. Lucas Oil Stabilizer costs between $15 and $25 for a 16-ounce bottle. It is mostly viscosity modifier. It thickens your oil. It does not clean. It coats. That is a different purpose. If you have a clearances issue, Lucas can help. If you have a carbon issue, Lucas will not touch it. Seafoam costs between $12 and $18 per 16 ounces. It works. It has solvents. But the ratio of solvent to carrier in Seafoam is different from Marvel Mystery Oil. And for ring cleaning specifically, Marvel Mystery Oil has a better track record in my experience. Seafoam is better for fuel system cleaning. Use it in your gas tank, not your crankcase. Royal Purple costs $20 to $30 per 16 ounces. It is a synthetic-based additive with proprietary friction modifiers. It does reduce friction. It does clean. It also costs 6 to 10 times more than Marvel Mystery Oil for roughly the same ring cleaning benefit. The friction modifier advantage in Royal Purple is real, but marginal in street driving. It is not worth the price difference for most truck owners. If you are racing, Royal Purple makes sense. If you are driving a 2003 F-150 to work, Marvel Mystery Oil is your best value. The real difference between these products is not chemistry, it is marketing. American companies discovered that truck owners would pay premium prices for additives that promise synthetic-level performance. They built brands around that promise. The product works, but you are paying for the brand. The Japanese product Marvel Mystery Oil has no marketing budget. It has been the same formula since the 1930s. Mechanics in Asia and Europe have used it for decades. It is the original ring-free additive, and it costs $2. Let me tell you something about the chemistry that nobody at the additive companies will tell you. The petroleum base in Marvel Mystery Oil has a specific formulation of long-chain and short-chain hydrocarbons. The short-chain hydrocarbons evaporate at operating temperature. That sounds bad. It is not. That evaporation is what carries the solvent into the ring gaps and vaporizes out of the combustion chamber, taking carbon with it. The long-chain hydrocarbons stay in the oil film and provide lubrication. This two-phase action is why Marvel Mystery Oil works in both the crankcase and the fuel system. It is a solvent in the combustion chamber and a lubricant in the crankcase. No expensive synthetic additive does both as effectively. Lucas is a lubricant only. Seafoam is a solvent only. Marvel Mystery Oil is both, and it costs less than a gallon of gas. Here is what I want you to take away from this video. Your truck engine was built to last. The Iron Block V8 in a 1997 F-150 was designed for 300,000 miles of service. The 5.7-liter V8 in a 2003 Chevrolet Silverado was designed for 300,000 miles. The 4.7-liter V8 in a 2005 Toyota Tundra was designed for 400,000 miles. These engines are not dying because they are poorly built. They are dying because of what we put in them and what we do not put in them. Carbon kills engines. We let it build up because we listen to people who sell us expensive oil and tell us we do not need to do anything else. The $2 bottle on the shelf is the thing that breaks that cycle. I have been putting it in every truck I own since 1991. I have never rebuilt an engine for wear-related reasons. Not one. The secret is not the truck. It is not the oil brand. It is keeping the carbon off the rings and treating your engine like it is supposed to last. If this video helped you understand what is actually happening inside your engine, go ahead and subscribe. Hit the like button. Leave me a comment below. Tell me what truck you are driving and what mileage it is on right now. I read every comment and I respond when I can. If you want to see more videos like this where I break down the real science and the real economics of keeping your truck running past 300,000 miles, subscribe and check out my other videos. I have one on the specific oil weights you should be running in your F-150 based on the year and the engine code. And I have one on the 3 things dealers will tell you your truck needs that it absolutely does not need. Those 2 alone will save most of you more money than you spent on gas this month. Keep your trucks running, folks, and take care of them yourself.